Today, I have another amazing guest that I would like to welcome to Cura Conversations, Tales of Hospitality Excellence. Nicole Stevenson is a registered and licensed dietitian and is the supervising dietitian for the Kane Community Living Centers in Western Pennsylvania. Nicole comes to us with over 25 years of clinical nutrition and wellness experience. Today, she will share her thoughts and experience on precepting dietetic interns.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Nicole. Can we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself and your role with Cura Hospitality?
Yes. So I have been with Cura Hospitality for about 7 years, and my title is Supervising Dietitian for the Kane Community Living Centers in Pittsburgh. And basically, what I do is I oversee, we have a team of 13 registered dietitians across 4 different centers. And so my main focus is to oversee and support them in doing their jobs. And then I also work on the menu development, menu spreads, and just assisting with operations as needed at the 4 centers that I support.
Awesome, thank you. I know one of the other things that you do in your day-to-day role is helping to mentor and teach the upcoming dietitian during their internship. So, really acting as a preceptor for them. So can you tell us a little bit about the key responsibilities of being a dietetic internship preceptor?
Sure. So we do take interns at most years, actually, at 3 of the 4 of our centers, sometimes more than once a year. And I would say the biggest thing with supporting the interns that we have found is being positive. So we are long-term care buildings, and I do feel like interns don't always come in the most excited about this rotation. So I feel like our biggest responsibility is to make them feel welcome, and make them see that it is an exciting place to work. It can be a great fit for dietitians. So I think just kind of showing them that excitement and that positivity and letting them know that we're there to really show them what this role looks like and what it could look like for them as they move towards graduation.
And that's great. And I know that's not always an easy thing to do, especially
Right.
especially because this isn't something you necessarily went to school for. You went to school for the nutrition piece of it. But how do you go about creating that positive and supporting environment?
I think the first thing that I like to do at my buildings is really lean on the dietitians that are working in the buildings and finding dietitians that do really have an energy or a strong commitment to wanting to help the future dietitians. And I think those dietitians are definitely out there. And so leaning on them and really bringing them. So maybe it's not the lead dietitian at the building. Maybe it's one of the other dietitians. I've had that situation where one of the other dietitians was just really excited about working with interns. So I feel like leaning on them and finding those people that are excited about it, and having them kind of step up and help with it really makes a big difference because they're excited to get these interns. Um, and that's, you don't always have people that are comfortable with it. So then the other job is mentoring my new dietitians on my staff and saying, hey, we are going to take these interns and here's how we're going to help them. And then just stepping in and being the support person for them as well as they help the dietitians that are in their buildings or the interns that are in their buildings.
Awesome. And this is a teaching opportunity. So
Sure.
anytime there is teaching going on, at some point you have to assess people's strength and some areas for improvement. So how do you go about doing that for these nutrition interns?
So to assess the actual interns, we really try to give them the opportunity to first observe and learn what we're doing. Really kind of sit them down and start with an overall general picture of long-term care. We definitely find that when they come in, what they've been told is, it might not be the most exciting place to work and that it might be very simple. And so we really try to just start them with what it looks like and what assess what knowledge they've gotten so far from their classroom studies about long-term care, and then really just trying to explain the process, explain MDSs, explain our assessments, explain our role in food service, because that is a role that is a little bit different, I feel like, than what the role of a dietitian might be in a hospital. So really just trying to lay that groundwork with the interns, and then from there diving into the projects that they have to do. So diving into their assessments that they have to complete and some of the food service projects that they come to us with assignments for.
Great. And with these projects, it seems like they're hands-on. So do you know which of these are like most valuable for the dietetic interns?
I do. So the interns that we receive, they do some really great projects. The main ones I would say that are hands-on, that really I feel like maybe kind of start to turn their thought process about what long-term care could look like, is that they do a resident activity. So it's usually a resident food activity. They can develop it. We definitely have ideas, because we know sometimes with them coming in, it might be a little intimidating and they don't know where to begin. So we have some thoughts and ideas for them, if it's around a holiday meal or something like that, but really kind of letting them take the lead and let us know what they think would work for a resident activity. And then we guide them through that process. So we guide them through talking about, okay, well, what's that going to look like from a food purchasing standpoint? And what type of food do we need? And can we get it here that quickly? We tend to not have them for a very long time. So can we get those products here? And based on the food that they're choosing for their activity, that leads us into a really great discussion about diets and texture diets, and how that plays into, how many residents are we going to come to the activity, and how many might not be allowed to have the food that you chose, and what are we going to do as a backup plan? That usually then leads into talking about liquids and thickened liquids, and making sure we have those available for the residents. So I feel like that project kind of touches all aspects. It touches a little bit of clinical, it touches a little bit of food service, it gets involved with some other disciplines, like the activities department. So it really gives them the opportunity to see all of those pieces, and then they actually do the activity. So this is not something we're just planning on paper. We actually hold the activity. And this year it was a lot of fun to see the interns really in the dining room, engaging with the residents, going from table to table and talking to them, and then giving us the feedback that that's not something that they ever really got to do in a hospital. So that activity I always feel like is a great one. Personally, I always love the menu planning activity that they have to do. I don't know that they love it, but I really try to impart my love of menu planning on them with that. And I know the other dietitians do that as well, and just really talk about how to spread a menu, and what, really getting into the production aspects of the menu and the cost aspects of the menu, and how we are knowledgeable in that and we have the ability to do that, and how we can help the food service department with those things. Because I think a lot of the interns don't realize that that is, a direction their path could go. And it's a good opportunity for them to get to learn a little bit about menuing and food service in a maybe not so scary atmosphere.
And both of those projects sound awesome, because it does show the depth of knowledge that dietitians have, but also, a little bit of the scope of practice. It's not just assessing the patients or residents. Yes. In your case, yep. It goes far beyond that, the menu and the menu planning, and even cost involved with it, which, yep. Isn't always easy to do, but I know personally how much time and effort you and your team put into that, and what a great job you do with it. So it's great you're able to pass that along to, future dietitians.
Right. And they do the assessments. I mean, that's definitely part of their time with us. So teaching them our EMR, we do try to give them the opportunity to learn that, because I think that just any EMR that they learn during their internship just gives them tools for future, for wherever they might end up. So trying to teach them the EMR, and then also obviously letting them get to meet residents, do assessments. They definitely do all of that. But I think the other two projects are a little bit more fun and different for them in our setting.
Awesome. So you spoke a little bit about this earlier when you brought up, you like to provide resources for your preceptors. So what tools and resources are out there to help support the preceptors, especially those where this may be their, first couple of interns, and they may not be that comfortable with it?
Yeah, I would say the biggest resource, and it's funny that I had this question and I actually reached out to some of my dietitians because I said, what are, I know personally what I use, but we all decided that kind of the biggest resource that we use is what we get from the internship. So having the syllabus from the internship and the expectations ahead of time, I think is one of the biggest resources. So if that is at all possible for anybody considering taking interns, I think that is a really, really important step. And then using that resource. So reviewing that syllabus, knowing what is expected of the interns when they arrive, just gives you time to prepare. So for example, we know they're going to have to do a menu project. So we ahead of time will start to pull some food costs, some product things. We can get that either from the food service director, from their invoices, or being able to log into the system and get that information ourselves. So we kind of get some of that stuff prepared ahead of time, so that we can take advantage of the time we have with them. And so yeah, I would say the syllabus and then leaning on each other. So we had one of our dietitians this year, this was her first year here, and she really wanted to work with the interns. And so having her lean on the dietitians that had done it in the past to just say, what were some things that what went well, what didn't go well, what were the challenges, that type of thing. So using your team as a resource also.
And that's great that you have your own little support group, and it also shows that, even past our internships and many years later, we're still learning, and we're still learning from each other, which is
Yeah,
always awesome to
absolutely.
hear. So, one of the last questions I have is just around a memorable moment or experience. Can you just share, you know, a something that sticks out from when you were precepting a dietetic intern?
Yeah, so probably two things that stick out the most are one was an experience we had interns, and they actually were with us in December, which was kind of a unique time for us to have interns. And we were working on holiday party planning, which we at the Canes, our dietitians are very involved with that and helping their food service directors. And so we had the interns down helping us get ready for a resident holiday function, and it was our big function of the year. And just seeing them realize that, and then I should preface this by saying these were dietitians that were interns that were specializing in sports nutrition. So they really came into us with not much, they were interested, but this was definitely not a field they thought they were going to go into. But bringing them in and showing them that, long-term care isn't, I feel like, what sometimes people expect it to be, that it can be, there's a lot of fun aspects of it. And we had a really great team, and we were helping prep, and we were getting things ready. And I think what made that experience so cool for me is to see the notes that those interns wrote to the dietitians at the building saying, thank you for the experience because it opened my eyes to what working in long-term care can look like. And so that experience really sat with me because if that's what we achieve at the end of our short 2 week time frame that we get with some of these interns, if they can walk out and say, wow, you really opened my eyes, and this is something that I would not ignore a job posting for anymore, or this is something that I think really might fit with my life or what I'm looking to do, then I think we've all done a really good job. So that was really exciting. Probably my other most exciting one was when one of our interns was actually hired by Cura. And is still working with Cura years later. So it's always fun to run into her, and I always talk about how she was one of our favorite interns, and she always talks about how great her experience was at the Canes. So I love that we, produced one of our great Cura dietitians out of the Canes.
Wow, talk about full circle. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just amazing that it worked out that way.
Yep.
Um, anything else you want to share that I neglected to ask?
No, I would say the only note I made is just kind of some of the challenges that dietitians I feel like could have with interns. And I think they're very valid challenges, because I do think that when people think about getting interns, initially you get that excitement. Yes, we're definitely going to take interns. And then it gets closer and closer, and you're getting hit with admissions, and you're getting, an MDS push that's really putting you behind on charting, and all of those other things. The kitchen is short and they need help in the kitchen. So all of those other things come in. And sometimes you can get to that point of like, oh gosh, we have interns next week. So I think that can just be, the time can be a challenge. So I think kind of looking past that and being prepared, kind of having that work ahead of time, looking at that syllabus to really kind of get past that challenge and hopefully be excited. Definitely sharing the experience with other dietitians. So we kind of have a point person at each building, but I always tell them, I know you can't take these interns, and nor would their experience be the same if you keep them every hour of the day that they're here. So share them with other departments. So we've kind of started a program where they do go spend some time with the speech therapist, and then that helps give the dietitian a little bit of time to get her work done. So I think that that can be one of the challenges. And then just the challenge, we only usually get about 8 to 10 days with these interns, which seems like a lot when you're planning, but then when they're there, it really flies by. So just, really having the dietitian that's going to precept the intern, again, be prepared, be ready for those projects, and just really make the most, because where it goes fast for us, I'm sure it goes really fast for the interns also. And they're only getting a little snapshot of our world. So just trying to make the most of it and give them the best experience they can have.
Wow. And, what an experience that you are providing for these interns who are learning. And I know it's never easy to take this time out of your day and to plan all this and then to, facilitate and to teach. So I just wanted to, personally thank you for everything you're doing, not only for us at Cura Hospitality and at the Kane communities, but also, for the nutrition profession, because without people like you and the rest of the dietitians over there being preceptors, we wouldn't have the next group of dietitians coming along. So it's much appreciated, and thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you. We enjoy it, and definitely the dietitians do an awesome job. I can't thank them enough also for the work that they put in with these interns every year. And every time I ask, they're always giving me a resounding yes that they're going to take interns again for the next cycle. So I can't thank them enough also.
Awesome. Well, please thank them on my behalf too, and thank you for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Cura Conversations, Tales of Hospitality Excellence. And a big thank you to Nicol Stevenson for joining me today and sharing her expertise. We hope you found our discussion on precepting dietetic interns insightful and engaging.
Since 1996, Cura has specialized in serving life plan communities, behavioral health, and acute care facilities. Cura creates dining service programs specific to each client's needs, taking the worry of guest safety and satisfaction, employee development, and operational and fiscal challenges off our clients' plates. As our clients' needs evolve, so do we. We are a company of experienced dining service professionals that is part of Elior North America. Together, we are small enough to care and big enough to make a difference. Thank you for listening to Cura Conversations, Tales of Hospitality Excellence, and we hope you will visit us at curahospitality.com to learn more about how we nurture well-being with every meal we serve.